So I've been carrying the Sig P365 for a little while now, and I thought I've had it for enough time that I feel like I can make a good video about carrying this gun. I'm very happy with it so far. Welcome back to Sawteeth Tactical. I have been carrying the Sig Sauer P365 for a couple months now, and I feel like I can finally do a video on it being my new everyday carry pistol and what I think of it so far. So that's what today's video is. This happens to be the pistol that is on me all the time. So let's start the show. Sig Sauer P365. So before we get started, I want to thank everyone that subscribed to the channel, and I especially want to thank the Patreons. But to the point now. At one point, quite a while back in the early stages of me having a YouTube channel, I did an EDC video about this. This is a Taurus G2C. And I carried this gun for quite a while. And that's how I got used to concealed carrying. And concealed carrying, as much as we like to have fun on this channel and we go to the range and we shoot and we enjoy the Second Amendment, because I love shooting, I love building guns, I love everything about it, concealed carry is something that you have to take very seriously. And eventually I felt like I wasn't taking it seriously by carrying a Taurus. The more I learned about firearms and the more I learned about what is quality versus not quality, I just felt like the firearm that I had on me all the time should be something that I know is going to be 100% reliable. And although my Taurus did just fine, I only had a couple malfunctions with it, I just didn't feel like it was a gun that I could take seriously anymore. And so I got this. This is the Sig P365. And this is the concealed carry gun that changed the game. This was the first real Micro 9 double stack subcompact gun. And when I went to a local gun shop and I looked at this while carrying my Taurus on my hip, I realized that I needed to make a change. I actually sold this Taurus, even though it's here in this video. I don't own it anymore. Used the money from that to put toward my P365. And I'm very happy that I did. Since getting this Sig, it has had zero, and I mean zero malfunctions. It has been 100% reliable. The only thing about it I had to get used to a little bit, because it's so small, if I'm not careful, my thumb can sit right on that slide lock, slide release, and it might not lock back on the last round. But as long as I'm paying attention to where my thumbs are, I don't have an issue with that. So Sig just came out with the P365 X Macro Comp. I'm sure it's a very good gun. In fact, I've looked at it and I've held it at my local gun shop, Guffey's Gun and Pawn. Always a big shout out. Those guys have been incredibly helpful. Awesome spot if you're in the southern Idaho area. But at the same time, I'm really glad that I have the regular P365. And although Sig keeps coming out with new and newer versions of the P365, the original P365 is a fantastic carry gun. And I'm going to give you my reasons why. So, big thing to me is even with this Taurus, which is it's a small gun, I really noticed it hanging off my belt. And the size difference between these two is huge. And the newer P365s, you know, the X macro and stuff, is closer to the size of a Glock 19, although much narrower. It's got a longer slide and barrel and a longer grip. And for the gun that I want to conceal carry, I want a small pistol. That's a decision that I have made. Now, the three things that really matter when it comes to carry are your gun, your holster, and your belt. Those three things, and your attitude and your state of mind. You have to take this very seriously because guns do kill people, and it's just something you have to take very seriously. If it's going to be on you, it is likely that despite all these other firearms that I have, that if I ever have to use one in a self-defense situation, there's a good chance it's probably going to be this one. So I have to take it seriously, and I have to practice with it. But also, I have to be comfortable carrying it. And this pistol is very, very comfortable to carry. The standard P365 is my go-to carry gun, mainly because of its size. And in the summertime, when you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, it's nice to have something that's light and small. Now, I do have a 12-round extended magazine for it. It is very difficult to get that 12th round in here, though. So I've got 11 in it right now. Now, there are many ways to carry a pistol. There are different kinds of holsters and different kinds of guns. A lot of people like to carry bigger guns. A lot of people, you know, the Glock 19 is still one of the most popular carry guns that there is. But it has a 4-inch barrel and a 15-round capacity. It is much thicker than this. It's got a much longer barrel. It's got a much bigger grip. So you're going to have to be more conscious of printing. It's going to be heavier, and you have to deal with those kinds of things. And when I first started carrying, I actually used a gun that was literally exactly the same size as a Glock 19. It was a Ruger Security 9 Pro, another firearm that I have sold in order to upgrade to some new stuff. I liked that gun fine too, but it was big for carrying, in my opinion. Now, there are some people that carry full-size government 1911s, and to each their own. If that works for you, that's great. It didn't work for me, because a big thing about concealed carry is if it's not comfortable, you're less likely to carry it. And that's the big thing I've learned since getting this Sig P365. It is so comfortable that I know it's cliche, but I really do forget that I have it on. Not forget that I don't know it's there and ready if I need it, but it is so comfortable, so small, so light that it doesn't bother me. So every time I leave the house, it ends up on my belt. And while we're talking about that, let's talk about belts. So, belt is one of the most important parts of concealed carry that often I think gets overlooked. Now, there are belts that are specifically gun belts. I don't use one of those, but I use a leather belt that is very rigid. I can't fold this in half. And that is what makes it work. It's a stiff belt, so that the gun doesn't move. It doesn't flop around on me. And in fact, let's go up close real quick. We're going to look at the belt, the holster, the gun, and the ammunition. This is the 10-round flush fit magazine. So here is my everyday carry setup. Standard things, wallet, keys. I always carry a pocket knife on me. I like this one because it is quick to flip open. It is extremely sharp. And in fact, I had to get 4 stitches in my thumb doing some yard work about a month ago because I wasn't paying enough attention. I was cutting weed eater line and this thing got me. But let's pay attention to your EDC as far as your carry pistol setup. And mine, this is what I use. This leather belt is extremely stiff. I cannot fold it in half. And this thing works great for me. My brother gave it to me for my birthday or Christmas or something a couple years ago. And I absolutely love this belt. And you need a good belt, whether you think so or not. I've tried carrying with belts that move around a lot and are not stiff. And you're constantly having to adjust your gun. And you always kind of feel like you're printing. It just doesn't work well. So make sure you get a belt that works for you. Now, I carry at the 4 o'clock position. I don't do the appendix carry. And so that's why this works for me. If you're going to carry AIWB, appendix, you might need something without a big buckle in the front. Now, the other thing here is the holster. And there are lots of kinds of holsters. I prefer Kydex. Now, you can choose whatever you want. But the great thing about Kydex is that it isn't flexible like leather. It's not going to close after you draw the gun, so you'll always be able to reholster it really easily. It needs to cover the trigger guard completely. That is what keeps it safe. If you pay attention to this pistol, there is no manual safety on it, and in fact, on these SIGs, there is no trigger safety as well. Now, let's pull this out. This gun is loaded because this is the gun that I carry. And you'll notice that it's loaded with hollow point ammunition. I like Federal HST. It works great for me. When you're at the range, run some regular full metal jackets. No problem. They don't cost as much. But make sure that you run some hollow points through your gun and know that it cycles them reliably. The very first day that I took this SIG out, before I ever carried it, I made sure that it was going to cycle my self-defense ammunition, which again, Federal HST. Now, this gun is clear, and what I basically do, I like to use the 10-round magazine that came with it, but with the finger extension there, so that when I draw it, I have a full grip on the gun. Now, this finger extension for the pinky is only on the front strap of the grip. It doesn't make the back strap any bigger. So it really doesn't affect the way that the gun could possibly print or the overall size of it, which is really nice, but it still gives you that good grip. The other magazine that comes with it doesn't have that pinky extension, and you see my pinky, kind of goes over it there. So I want to be able to get a good grip on it, and these two magazines carry the same amount of rounds. Now, I also purchased a 12-round extended magazine. This one has the best grip of all, and it's my favorite one to use at the range. It does afford you 2 extra rounds, and maybe that's what you would like to carry with if you use a P365. It just gives you a little more to grip onto, but as you see, it will add a little bit more length to your grip, which could possibly add to printing. That's why I've chosen the 10 round with the pinky extension as my carry magazine. Now, as far as Kydex holsters go, there are a lot of good ones on the market. Some of them are very expensive, and depending how you want to carry, if you need a sidecar holster, if you want to carry an extra magazine, there are lots of options for you. If you are on a budget, I do recommend this. So they sell these, I know, it's kind of funny, but these are sold on Amazon. I've used them with multiple guns now. I think this is my 4th Polcraft holster. And if you look at the reviews of these on Amazon, they're all very good. It has adjustable cant, so you can adjust this clip either direction. It also has adjustable retention. So I like to have it tight enough that I can hold it upside down and shake it, and the pistol's not going to come out, but that I can draw nice and easily. You hear that click when it goes in, then you know that your gun is safely in there and that your trigger guard is covered. So these holsters are like $25. Now you can go out and spend $80, $100 on something that's pretty much exactly the same from a higher tier brand name company, and it's going to do basically the same thing for you. Now, if you're looking for a different style of holster, then by all means go for it. But for the way that I carry at the 4 o'clock position, this inside the waistband holster works just fine for me. It's extremely comfortable. The belt clip is big enough for this belt, which is what I use, and I'm very happy with it. So being into guns, it's an expensive hobby and it's an expensive lifestyle. And so if I've found a holster that works for me at a price point that works for me, I have no problem going with that. Now let's go back up top. So when you're practicing with your concealed carry gun, it's very important to work by drawing from concealed. So we're gonna do that a little bit today too. And I just broke my target. Fun times. So there are many carry positions. I think the two most widely accepted and most popular these days are, the way I do it, inside the waistband at about the 4 o'clock position just behind my strong side hip, or appendix, which is right down in front. Now, I can carry appendix, but it's not as comfortable for me. I spend a lot of time driving and stuff in the car, and when you sit down carrying appendix, it can be an uncomfortable situation. You have to adjust it. Whereas I found that carrying at the 4 o'clock position with a small gun in the right holster, I can be comfortable walking, sitting, running, doing anything that I need to do. And with a gun this size, I can conceal it under just about anything. Now, generally, I like to wear an undershirt and I tuck that in, and then I wear a button-down collared shirt on top of that that conceals the gun. But the nice thing about the undershirt is it gets between your skin and the grip. And so you don't get like worn raw, because I like to have a good aggressive grip on my pistol for when I'm gripping the actual pistol. But that same thing that's good in your hand is bad on your skin, whether it be your belly or, back behind your hip. So I like to do that. At the same time, I wear polo shirts. Sometimes I wear t-shirts. And the grip on this P365 is not bad enough that it's going to kill me if I have to wear it all day without something underneath it. Just one of the things I've learned about keeping myself comfortable, that does help. And you are going to have to think about the clothing that you wear when you're carrying a firearm, because a lot of people will buy their pants one size bigger, or they'll wear a little bit baggier shirt so as not to print and to be able to actually fit that firearm inside the waistband. I've found that I don't need to do that, but I'm kind of a skinny guy. So my regular size pants that fit just fine without the gun, I could fit a gun this size in them without a problem. Sometimes I'll have to wear my belt one loop wider, but that's about it. As far as the shirt goes, if you have something this small, you can probably wear tighter clothing if you need to and still not print. If you're going to carry something bigger, you're probably going to need a little bit baggier of clothing. It's just something that you're going to have to look into and practice each day. When you go to put your pistol on, look in the mirror, make sure that you're not printing, bending over, moving around, whatever else, and then practice your draw and make sure that you can, defeat the clothing and draw the pistol effectively and quickly. Another thing about that, carry with a round in the gun. And I mean in the chamber. So a lot of people, especially when they start carrying, that sounds like a scary thing to them. But really, it's more irresponsible not to carry with a round in the chamber. If you find yourself in a position where you do need to use your concealed carry gun, you don't want to have to take that extra second to rack around before your firearm is ready to be used. You need it to be ready at a moment's notice. It's already going to take you a second to defeat your clothing and pull it out and be ready. So make sure that you can pull the trigger and be effective as soon as you need to be. The other thing is practice with your carry gun. Now, I'll be the first to admit, and this was especially true when I carried the Taurus, it was, of all my guns, my least favorite gun to shoot at the range. I felt less accurate with it and less confident with it. being that it was a smaller gun. Smaller guns are generally more difficult to shoot well. Now, I do have to say, and I know it's cliche again, but the P365 shoots like a bigger gun, which is nice. But it's still not as easy to be accurate with it as it is with like a full-size M&P, or especially with a government-size 1911. It just isn't. And so, because of that, I actually need to practice with it more. If I'm hitting the steel with this less often than I am with my other guns, then that means that I need to practice with it even more. And especially because it's probably the gun that is most likely to be used ever in a defensive situation, it needs to be a gun that I'm very capable with and that I'm confident with. So whatever gun you choose for concealed carry, make sure that you practice with it. Now, after you've run some defensive ammo through it and you are confident that it will cycle that reliably, practice with some cheap stuff. Buy as much, 9mm full metal jacket, regular cheapo ammo as you can, and just run a ton of it through your gun. But at the same time, make sure you maintain it. Now, I'm pretty good about cleaning all my guns, but especially the ones that might be used in a defensive situation, such as my carry pistol, my nightstand gun. Those guns, I make sure that they're cleaned and lubed after every range session so that I can be confident that they are going to work exactly as they should in a moment's notice when I need them to. It's a good thing I have a couple targets here. So I think concealed carry is one of the most important parts of being a lawful and responsible firearms owner. It's something that I take very seriously because it's a very serious thing. If you do ever have to use your firearm defensively, you're going to have to deal with the legal ramifications of that. And hopefully, as long as you are responsible and it was a legally justified shooting and self-defense, then it won't disrupt your life too much. But there's a big possibility that it could. You might end up having to spend a lot of money for a lawyer. You might end up dealing with big court issues. So take it very seriously. Don't let yourself print if you can help it. Carry a gun that is comfortable for you, but also a gun that you are confident with, and make sure that you practice with it so that you are confident with it. Now, I believe in carrying subcompact firearms, and there are a lot of good ones on the market. You don't have to carry a Sig P365 like I do. This is just what I've found that works for me. Smith & Wesson with the Shield Plus, that's a fantastic option as well. Even the Springfield Hellcat Pro, another great option. And I know a lot of people don't like Springfield, and especially like their XDs and stuff. I've found their 1911s to be fantastic. I haven't shot the Hellcat Pro, although I do have like an M&P. I have a pretty good idea about the Shield. The owner of the gun shop where I got this runs the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. There are great options, and especially now, there are lots of newer, generally bigger versions of the 365, but they're great. Just find what works for you. Just make sure it's something that you're comfortable with so you actually do end up carrying it all the time. And be responsible. Make the rest of us gun owners look good. Don't be out there flashing your gun. Don't be irresponsible, and don't be stupid. All right. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave me a comment. Tell me what you carry. Please share this, and please subscribe to the channel. I'm really working on getting to that 1,000 subscriber point. It has taken me a long time, but I appreciate every one of you guys that has subscribed. If you learned anything from this or were entertained at all, please drop me a like. And, you know, as we always say from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.